Japanese admirals laughed at U.S. carrier power until the Philippine Sea turned into a turkey shoot. In 2 days, June 19th and 20th, 1944, Japan lost over 400 aircraft and 3 aircraft carriers. Americans called it the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, the Japanese, the end of their navy. This was the Battle of the Philippine Sea, and after it, Japan could never recover. Today, the full story of the battle that decided the outcome of the Pacific War. Why it happened. Summer 1944. While the Allies land in Normandy on the other side of the world, another war unfolds. For islands. Americans push toward Japan. Their target, the Mariana Islands, Saipan, Tinian, Guam. If the U.S. captures them, they get bases for B-29 bombers, and that means direct route to Tokyo. Japan understands this, and decides, we must stop the Americans here and now. June 15, 1944, USA begins landing on Saipan, and Japan sends everything it has left. 9 aircraft carriers, 450 planes, the Empire's best pilots. Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa commands the operation. His plan is simple. Attack first. Use superior range of Japanese aircraft. Destroy American fleet before it can respond. The Americans, who they are and what they have, opposing them. 15 American aircraft carriers. Task Force 58 under command of Vice Admiral Mark Mitscher. 956 aircraft. Most F-6F Hellcat fighters. Fast, powerful. Pilots, experienced, hundreds of sorties behind them. And crucially, Americans have radar. The Japanese do not know yet. Their attacks will be detected dozens of miles away. Mitscher understands. The Japanese are coming. Question is only, when and from where. His mission, protect the Saipan landing and destroy the Japanese fleet once and for all. June 18th, last night before battle on carrier decks. Silence. Pilots write letters home. Mechanics prepare planes. Everyone knows, tomorrow, something big begins. June 19th, Day 1. The Turkey Shoot dawn, June 19th. At 8:30 a.m., the Japanese launch first wave, 69 aircraft, target U.S. carriers, but American radar picks them up at 150 miles. Mitscher scrambles 220 Hellcat fighters. What happens next? The Japanese will call a nightmare. Hellcats are faster, better armed, and crucially, pilots are better trained. Of 69 Japanese planes, 42 shot down. Only a handful reach target. Damage to Americans, minimal. Imagine, you're a young Japanese pilot, 20 years old. You believed your plane was the best, that your strike would be a surprise. But instead, the sky is full of enemies. They're faster than you, stronger. You watch one by one your comrades fall into the ocean, and you realize you will not reach the target. You're already dead. This is exactly how Japanese pilots felt on June 19, 1944. But Ozawa does not give up. He sends second wave, 130 aircraft. Result? The same. Radar. Hellcats. Mass slaughter in the air. Lost. 97 planes. Third wave. 47 aircraft. Shot down. 40. Fourth wave. 82 planes. Lost. 73. By end of day, Japan loses over 300 aircraft. Americans, about 30. This is not a battle. This is a massacre. This is why American pilots called this day the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. What's next? But this is only day 1. The Japanese lost their planes, but their carriers are still afloat, and if they escape, the war drags on. Mitscher faces a choice: pursue the enemy in darkness, risking his pilots, or retreat. What he chooses, and what comes of it, in just a moment. But first, Let's go back to what was happening underwater, because while carnage unfolded in the sky, underwater, another drama was unfolding. Underwater war, the torpedoes that changed everything. June 19th. While carnage unfolds in the sky, underwater, a different hunt. Two American submarines, USS Albacore and USS Kavala. They're tracking Japanese carriers. Albacore spots Ozawa's flagship, Carrier Taiho, the newest, the largest, the pride of the Japanese fleet, launched in 1944. Armored deck. Displacement, 29,300 tons. This was the symbol of the Imperial Navy's revived power. And then, at 9:09 a.m., torpedoes away. One hits. At first, nothing serious. One breach in the bow, ship holding together. Ozawa doesn't even consider transferring to another ship, but no one knows. The torpedo ruptured an aviation fuel tank. Fuel vapor starts seeping throughout the ship. Smell of gasoline. Sailors begin to choke. An inexperienced damage control officer gives a fatal order. Turn ventilation to maximum power to clear the fumes. But this doesn't help. It spreads volatile gas through all decks, every compartment, every corridor. The ship becomes a giant time bomb. For 6 hours, the ship drifts, filled with explosive vapors. Imagine, you're a sailor on Taiho. You smell gasoline. You see officers nervously talking, but they tell you, everything's under control. Ship maintains course, ventilators working. And then, at 3:32 p.m., someone switches on an electric generator. A spark, explosion. Taiho is torn apart from within. The blast wave rips off aircraft elevators, hurls them into the sky like toys. Deck buckles, bulkheads collapse. Admiral Ozawa is forced to urgently transfer to cruiser Haguro, but his flagship is already dead. Fires can't be contained. Ship lists. At 5:28 p.m., order to abandon ship. At 6:28 p.m., Taiho goes under, taking 1,650 men with her. Japan's newest carrier lasted only 3 months in service. Second victim, the death of Shokaku. But that's not all. Hours later, second submarine, USS Kavala, Commander Herman Kostler, closes on carrier Shokaku. This isn't just a ship. This is a legend. Shokaku participated in the Pearl Harbor raid, December 7th, 1941. She survived the Battle of Coral Sea, Battle of Santa Cruz, dozens of operations. One of Japan's most experienced, most fortunate ships. Her crew considered the ship invulnerable. 12:20 p.m. Kostler sees Shokaku in periscope. Distance, perfect. 4 torpedoes in salvo. 3 hits. First torpedo breaches the bow. Second, hits center directly into aviation stores. Third, into engine room. Fires ignite instantly. On board, hundreds of tons of aviation fuel, ammunition, torpedoes. Chain reaction begins. Explosion after explosion. Crew tries damage control, but fire unstoppable. At 2:01 p.m., torpedo magazine detonates. Hull breaks apart. At 3:00 p.m., Shokaku capsizes and goes down. 1,263 men die. Nearly the entire crew. Let's grasp the scale. In one day, June 19th, 1944, Japan loses 2 heavy carriers, nearly 3,000 sailors, flagship with admiral aboard, legendary ship that survived 3 years of war. Not from aviation, from submarines, and worst of all, Admiral Ozawa doesn't know yet. Ozawa in the dark, illusion of victory. Evening, June 19th. Ozawa transfers to cruiser Haguro and tries to reconstruct the battle. But communications with the fleet are disrupted. Radiograms are contradictory. Pilots who returned from attacks report, sank American carrier. Hit battleship. Enemy burning. Ozawa believes. He thinks, we're winning. Yes, loss is heavy, but Americans suffered too. He doesn't know the truth. But the truth. Americans lost 29 aircraft. Japanese, over 300. Not one American ship sunk. 2 Japanese carriers on the bottom. But Ozawa does not see this, because his pilots, young, inexperienced, overstimulated by combat, mistake anti-aircraft, shell bursts for hits. They genuinely believe they sank the enemy, and report it to command. Ozawa makes decision, retreat west, regroup, and tomorrow attack again. He still hopes for the decisive battle, that Kantai-Kessen, the general engagement that would decide the war's outcome once and for all. He doesn't understand. The battle is already over, and he lost it. American side, Mitscher hunts the enemy. Meanwhile, American side. Evening, June 19th. Vice Admiral Mark. Mitscher knows, Japanese destroyed in the air, but their ships still afloat, and if they escape, war drags on. Mitscher gives order, find Japanese fleet at any cost. All night, American air reconnaissance combs the ocean, but Japanese steaming west at maximum speed disappearing into darkness. Mitscher anxious. His superior, Admiral Raymond Spruance, ordered him, first priority, protect Saipan landing. Don't chase Japanese too far. But Mitscher understands, if we let them escape now, they'll return. In a month, in 2, and everything starts over. He needs to finish them. But where are they? Mitscher faces a dilemma. Pursue Japanese west means separating from Saipan, leaving landing force without air cover, risking Japanese submarine attack. But if we don't pursue, Japanese fleet escapes. What to choose? This was the moment when a commander must choose between tactics and strategy, between rules and the chance to end the war. Mitscher, experienced admiral. He knows the cost of mistakes, but he also knows such an opportunity may not come again. He looks at his officers, silence, and he says, we're going after them. Prepare aviation for dawn launch. June 20th, dawn and the search. June 20 early morning, American scouts back in the air. They've been searching for Japanese fleet 18 hours. Fuel running low. Hope fading. And then, at 3:40 p.m., finally, contact, enemy fleet located. Coordinates, 275 miles west of American carriers. 275 miles, at the limit. Planes can reach target, but return, questionable. Fuel may not suffice, and they'll return at night, in darkness, over ocean. Mitscher understands, if he orders launch, many pilots won't return. They'll fall into ocean, drown in darkness, or crash on landing. But if he doesn't order launch, Japanese escape, and then even more Americans will die. Later in future battles. No choice. He looks at his watch. Sun sets in 3 hours, and he says, launch everything, attack immediately. 4:20 p.m., launch. 200. 16 aircraft, F-6F Hellcat, SB-2C Helldiver, TBF Avenger. They know, this is a one-way mission, fuel only for outbound. Return trip, on luck, on fumes, on prayer, but they fly, because it's their job, because their comrades on Saipan depend on them, and because their admiral believes in them. This was the mission of desperation. 216 men flew toward the enemy, knowing many wouldn't return, but they flew. Because sometimes war demands the impossible from people, and sometimes people agree. What will they find? Flight lasts nearly 2 hours. fuel melting away, sunsetting. Pilots see. If they don't find target in next 20 minutes, no way back. And then, at 6:40 p.m., they see it. Japanese fleet. 6 carriers. Dozens of ships. Right ahead. What happened next, and how Americans made it home alive, I'll tell you in a moment. But first, let's understand what was happening on the Japanese side at that moment. The Japanese. Last hope. While Americans fly west, the Japanese fleet tries to survive. June 20, evening. Admiral Ozawa still believes he can turn the situation around. He has 6 carriers left, but almost no aircraft. Yesterday, he lost over 300 planes. Today, across all ships, about 100 operational aircraft, even fewer pilots. Many wounded, many in shock, many simply too exhausted to fly. Imagine you're 19 years old. Yesterday, you watched your comrades shot down by the dozens. You miraculously returned alive. And now they tell you again, prepare for sortie. You know you have almost no chance. But you're a samurai. You're a warrior of the empire. And you do what you must. You climb into the cockpit. Ozawa orders fleet to turn east, toward the Americans. It's a desperate move. He wants to close distance so his remaining aircraft can at least reach the enemy. But he doesn't know. Americans already airborne, and they're already flying toward him. The attack. Hyo burns. 6:40 p.m. American pilots see Japanese fleet. 6 carriers in formation. Dozens of destroyers and cruisers around them. Sun already touching horizon. No time for deliberation. Air Group Commander gives order. All squadrons, attack. Priority, carriers. Japanese anti-aircraft guns open fire. Sky fills with tracer rounds. But defense weak. Most fighters lost yesterday. Americans dive. First target, carrier Hyo. 6:50 p.m. First bomb hits Hyo's bow. Fire. Second bomb, center deck directly into hangar. Torpedoes detonate. Third bomb, engine room. Ship loses power. Hyo engulfed in flames. Explosions. Every few seconds, crew tries to save ship, but fire spreads too fast. At 7:15 p.m., captain gives order. Abandon ship. Sailors jump overboard. Destroyers try to approach for rescue, but explosions don't stop. At 7:32 p.m., Hyo capsizes and goes under. 1,200 men die. But this isn't the only target. Americans attack entire Japanese fleet. Carrier Zuikaku, flagship where Ozawa now resides, takes bomb hit, but stays afloat. Carrier Chiyoda, heavily damaged, deck shattered, fires. Battleship Haruna, hit, but armor holds. 2 tankers, sunk, another tanker burning. In 20 minutes, Americans inflict damage that decides war's outcome. 1 carrier sunk. 2 carriers heavily damaged. 2 tankers sunk. Dozens of planes destroyed on decks. Japan loses ability to wage war at sea, forever. But how will the American planes return? But now, the worst part. Return journey. Sunset. Sky. Black. Below them, only ocean. And most aircraft, fuel running out. Pilots understand. Many won't make it. This was victory, but its price, still unknown. Night return. Turn on the lights. Imagine you're an F-6F fighter pilot. You just attacked enemy fleet and survived. But now you're flying in total darkness. Your tank nearly empty. Below, ocean. Around, nothing. You can't see the carrier. Can't see other planes. Only stars above you. And you know, if engine dies, you fall into water. And no one will find you. On radio, voices. I've got 10 minutes left. I can't see the fleet. Anyone see lights? My engine's dying. Admiral Mitscher hears this. His pilots, out there in darkness, getting lost, falling. He knows. Every minute of delay, someone's death, and he makes a decision. A decision that goes against all rules of warfare. He says, "Turn on all lights on all ships, searchlights, deck lights, everything we have." Officers shocked. "Sir, but this reveals our position. Japanese submarines." Mitscher cuts them off. "I don't care about submarines. Turn on the lights immediately." And then, in the night, lights ignite. 1 carrier, 2, 5, 15. Searchlights shoot into sky in columns of light. Decks glow like runways. Signal lights flash. "Here! We're here! Land!" Pilots see this for dozens of miles. One later says, "I thought I was dead. Then I saw those lights, and I knew I'm home." Another writes, "It was the most beautiful sight of my life. Sky full of light, like Christmas in the middle of war." Chaos of landing. But landing isn't salvation yet. Planes coming in from everywhere. Many running out of fuel mid-air, engines dying. Pilots trying to reach deck on last fumes. Some don't make it. Engine dies 100 yards from deck. Plane falls into water. Splash. But immediately destroyers turn on searchlights. Rescue boats lowered into water. Searching for pilots. Everyone. At any cost. And they find them. One after another. Pilots who fell into ocean spend minutes, sometimes hours in water. But they're found. Almost all of them. Those who reach the deck face another problem. Deck overcrowded. Planes landing on wrong carriers. Fighters landing on decks meant for bombers. Some crash into already parked aircraft. Fires, explosions, chaos. But crews work like possessed. Extinguishing, clearing debris, freeing deck for next one, and landing continues. All night. By morning, the result? 216 aircraft launched. 80 fell into ocean. 136 landed on decks. Killed. 16 pilots. 33 crew members. Almost all others rescued. It was a miracle. Dawn. June 21st. Price of victory. Dawn, June 21st, 1944. Pilots on carrier decks, alive, exhausted, frightened, but alive. Many crying with relief, some just sitting in silence, not believing they survived. One pilot later writes in diary, "I flew in war for 2 years, saw much, but that night I saw what real command is. Admiral Mitscher saved us. He risked the entire fleet for us, and we'll never forget that." When Mitscher walks onto deck, pilots stand. No one speaks. They just stand and look at him, because this man chose their lives over rules, and they know it. The Japanese, end of the fleet. Meanwhile, Japanese fleet flees. Ozawa understands, battle lost. 3 carriers sunk. 2 heavily damaged. Over 400 aircraft lost. Hundreds of best pilots dead. This was the end. Fleet remnants retreat to Okinawa. Ozawa tries to save something, but he knows Imperial Navy can no longer conduct offensive operations. Japan lost control of the sea. Forever. Later, when Japanese commanders tally results, they'll understand the scale of catastrophe. Lost. 3 aircraft carriers, 2 tankers, 426 aircraft, about 3,000 sailors and pilots, most experienced naval aviators. American losses, 123 aircraft, mostly due to fuel shortage. 76 pilots and crew members. Loss ratio, nearly 4-1. This wasn't a battle. This was an execution. Aftermath, road to Tokyo. After the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the war changed. Japan could no longer defend its islands from air. June 15, U.S. lands on Saipan. July 9th, Saipan captured. July 24th, Tinian captured. August 10th, Guam captured. Mariana Islands, in U.S. hands. And now, Americans have what this was all for: airfields for B-29 Super Fortress bombers with range to Tokyo. November 24th, 1944. First raid on Tokyo. This is the beginning of the end for Japan. Following months. Hell for Japanese cities. Bombings day after day. Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, Kobe. Hundreds of thousands killed. Japanese industry destroyed. All this because Japan lost the battle in the Philippine Sea. Admiral Ozawa will survive the war. He'll remain in service until the very end, but his fleet will never be the same again. In October 1944, in the Battle of Leyte Gulf, he'll use his carriers as bait, without planes, without pilots, because Japan has none left. Admiral Mitscher will become a hero. His decision to turn on the lights will enter Naval Academy textbooks as example of true command. Pilots he saved will remember that night for rest of their lives. Many of them will return home, start families, live long lives, thanks to one decision by one man. Why is this silent? But here's what's strange. Battle of the Philippine Sea, one of largest naval battles in history. Decisive victory that changed course of war. But almost no one talks about it. Why? Because it happened 2 weeks after D-Day, Normandy landing. All newspapers, all news, all world's attention, riveted to Europe, to Paris, to Berlin, to Hitler, and Pacific remained in shadow. Also, battle looked too easy. 400 Japanese planes shot down. 3 carriers sunk. American losses. Minimal. This didn't look like heroic battle. This looked like slaughter. So press preferred more dramatic stories, but those who were there know the truth. This was the battle that decided Pacific War's outcome. This was the night when Admiral chose people over rules. This was the moment when Japan lost the war definitively, and this must be remembered. Finale. Lessons of battle. Battle of the Philippine Sea showed several important lessons. First, technology decides wars. American radars, better aircraft, experienced pilots. That's what gave them victory. Second, command is about people, not ships. Mitscher risked fleet for pilots, and that made him legend. Third, wars are won not by heroic attacks, but by cold calculation. Japanese believed in decisive battle. Americans believed in logistics, training, and technology, and won. Today in the Philippine Sea, silence. On the bottom, 3 Japanese carriers. Thousands of sailors and pilots rest there. Americans, Japanese. All of them. Part of history. History of battle that changed the world. If you enjoyed this story, hit like. If you want more stories like this, subscribe. In next episode, Battle of Okinawa. Last Battle of Pacific War. Kamikazes, assaults, 100,000 dead in 3 months. See you there.